Ooh.
Hello, welcome to Don't Be a Hero podcast.
Yo,
I'm
yo, yo.
Forrest. He's
Matt, hello.
Yeah.
That's weird. We never introduced ourselves like that. That felt strange.
I know, but I was listening back to a couple and I thought we always introduce it musically, which this one will be again, but we never.
Did you? I was on a different tab. Did you press record when I was doing a little?
Yeah.
Weird.
They've got the tail end of you making some absolute musical number there.
For fuck's sake. Hello, dear Forrest. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I am. My feet have just got over the Comic-Con walkies that we've been on this weekend.
We did lots of walkies at Le Comic-Con May 2024. It was a different experience because we were walking around this time. We didn't have a stand. We did lots of more talking to other stalls around, sort of giving their kind of thoughts and stuff. We didn't do interviews because actually we kind of thought against it. It got really busy on the Saturday.
Yes, Saturday was it for anyone who was there. Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And actually, we had another podcast who was there who commented saying how busy and mental it was. It was incredibly crowded on Saturday, which is great. It's great. It's great to have lots of people there. But for me and Matt, we like our affairs slightly quieter, don't we?
I think it was the Friday to the Saturdays. The contrast of the vibe. Not to say it wasn't buzzing on the Friday, but it was heaving on the Saturday, and it was such a jump in people. Like there were moments. I said to Forrest, I was like, even for me, and I we both got neurodiversity, and we both got overstimulated at certain moments. I had to put in my loop earplugs at some point during the day, just and that kind of deafens the decibels as well. And it didn't put a dampener on it. And this is the thing, I don't want to say this is putting a damper on MCM. I think if anything, this is a credit to the fact that people go to it so much because they love it so much. It's such a huge community event for the weekend. And you understand that. But like, I wasn't anticipating that many people. Maybe it was like that in October, mate, because we wouldn't have known because we were behind the stand.
Absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, I think we are. The aim is hopefully, and if MCM, if you're listening, please let us having a stall next May. So we will be back with a stall next time for you to come and see us, for us to do interviews. We're much more podcast focused. This weekend was me and Matt were enjoying ourselves. Went to stall, spent far too much money, and then next year will be about bringing the interviews, maybe the cosplay. We'll keep saying cosplay until it happens, and then we'll go mad about it.
100%. I mean, there were so many awesome people there. One of which, I mean, you've wearing a T-shirt that you got from one of the stands.
I am.
Got your Fallout / Shaun of the Dead mixture. Got a few compliments that I did on the weekend as well, which was pretty cool.
It did. That was very nice.
I'm wearing my Executioner tee from Magnum Opus Tattoo I think they're based in Brighton. Got one of these. Talking to those chaps over there, I want to give them a massive shout out. They were absolutely lovely blokes. But yeah, I mean, it was just. I mean, also Extra Man. We got the team of the Black British superhero Extra Man. That's just been recently created and coming out. I think they've got 2 graphic novels that are currently out, and we're going to hopefully get them on the podcast very soon. Really want to talk about that project. It sounds absolutely incredible. So yeah, I mean, those are just examples of the amazing people that are out there over the weekend. So yeah.
There were, just saying, we did just show our T-shirts on a podcast, but if you follow us, Don't Be a Hero podcast on Instagram or on TikTok, if you find us, we upload reels every week, and one of those will be a reel where we'll tag the people. We'll tag Matt's lot. I can't actually remember who I bought my T-shirt off.
Yeah, no.
So
I can't remember either.
I'll tell you what, if you see it and you know you sold it to me, let us know and we'll tag you all over the shop.
100%.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
That was good.
That's Comic-Con.
So we'll be back next May. We won't be there this coming October. As both me and Forrest are on a little theatrical project that we've got to go and see through and do. So we will be back next May, which is, very exciting. But that is not what we're here to talk about. We're out of the MCU. The shackles are off. We are. It's like that moment in Aladdin when Aladdin goes to Genie, Genie, I set you free. And it's like, and it's like, so that's pretty much us. Here we are, and we're now. So I just realised I was like,
That's
stop.
such an abrupt finish.
That was that moment. Again, it's happened a few times in this podcast where I get really cognizant of you're going too far. Dial it back. Dial it. Just bring it back around. Just bring it back a little bit.
But rather than find a natural conclusion, it's just like, and we're going. And this week we are looking at. But yes, we are free from the shackles of the MCU, and we are starting our little journey, our 4-week journey. 4 weeks, because we've got to do 3 series and then a 4th one. 4 or 5 weeks of The Boys, which I am fresh and brand new to the series. Matt has watched it a couple of times before. We watched some episodes or when we were in London over the weekend. We watched some episodes together, and then I've come back, watched the rest, and we are about to discuss, after these wonderful titles. They're not titles.
They're not titles.
The tune.
Tune.
What do you call it?
Theme tune. Our Wednesday theme tune. Our OG theme tune.
The OG. We're going to be talking about The Boys, Series 1. And here we are, talking about The Boys Series 1. I have to... Well, let's go to you, Matt. General thoughts. What we're going to do, before I hand over to you for general thoughts, just to let you listeners know, up to this point, we have quite often looked at a series and we've bunched some episodes together, done a part 1 and usually a part 2. For The Boys, because we've got to get done by the time series 4 starts releasing, but also because we're not chained to the shackles that is the MCU, we're now going to look at a series as a whole. So we might mention some key moments, but we're not going to be talking about episode by episode, which I'm sure most of the people listening about are thrilled about. Probably well happy for us.
Well happy about that, I'm sure. Just getting straight to the point. And that's the thing. I think it gives us an opportunity to give kind of just the highlights of the season, and also not to go too... This is the other thing. I mean, if you know us, and you do know us by now, dear listener, we don't go too far in depth. We won't deep dive we don't go to the depths of the deep diving. We kind of tickle the top a little bit, dip our toes in a little bit, but we don't go so far down. So we're just going to keep it nice and conversational.
Having said that, if you would like to hear us do that, if you go back to episode 1 of the podcast, we pretty much used to go through each entire fucking scene.
We did.
So if you listen to the very first Iron Man review, it's a journey.
I have a vivid memory. I have a vivid memory when we did that format of going through each scene in detail up until Captain America: The First Avenger, and I remember we did a double duty that night. So we did one. I think we did something before it. It must have been. Oh gosh, now my chronological memory is going to get effed up here. It might have been Thor. I think we might have done Thor and the First Avenger, Captain America, the same night. And when we did Captain America, you both and I were like this. So the first scene starts off with Captain America. And then he's not as Captain America. Oh, did you know? And we were so tired, and we can't keep doing this. So yeah, no.
And we used to make so many errors as well, but we don't now. Well, we definitely
Well, we definitely do.
Anyway, The Boys, general thoughts, series 1. Let us know, Matt. Chat to us.
Oh my days, this show. Thank God for this show. I mean, this came out at a time. I think. When did the first series come out? I think it was. I'm going to say 2018, but I'm probably wrong. Let me just do a little list. With I think a series like this, it's something that I think proves 2019. The original release was July 26th, 2019. This gives Deadpool the opportunity to run. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think Deadpool came first, the first movie, before this. This is obviously based on an original comics and graphic novels and a series of comics that came out before this series. It was a cult hit. It wasn't massive MCU DC famous. And it was actually, I don't know if you know this. I'm going to throw in a little Easter egg right now for us. That little Shaun of the Dead reference is going to come in a little handy there, because Huey was in the graphic novels, in the comics, was illustrated to be a reflection and a visual representation of Shaun from Shaun of the Dead, played by Simon Pegg, who is Huey's dad in the show. Because he was tipped to play Huey, but obviously he couldn't play Huey because he was too old at for the series. So they went, you know what? Do you want to play Huey's dad instead? And there we go.
Wow, that is a nice little Easter egg that I had no idea of. But that's amazing. Little homage to our friend Edgar Wright's wonderful work.
Oh, beautiful. I mean, but again, this is an homage not only to just loads of like references to pop culture, how we as on this planet Earth in real time, in real life, see these superheroes, but also how the MCU play their superheroes, how the DC universes play their superheroes, and they put that on a pedestal and they just absolutely rip it to shreds. And what I love to think is that this is, I wouldn't say it's the closest representation, because I don't think we'll go as far as this, but if we were to have superheroes on Earth, this is what they could end up becoming. I think they would become products. There would be movies. There would be Hollywood stars. They would be used as celebrities, and it would be politicized, and it would be gruesome. And this is what that show does. And I think it holds it in a kind of more truthful representation of what superheroes are on this planet.
I completely agree. I also, if you like, even the fundamentals, like if you break that down of the compound V, so if there was a substance that was created by a company, they would almost definitely pull this kind of shit. It feels when you're watching it like, oh, this is, how far fetched is this going to get? How big is this going to get? But ultimately, the ins and outs of this wider plot for The Boys is so not far fetched. I don't think we are not even like 50 years away from a chemical like that being 100%. Possible. I don't think we'd be having soups and all that stuff, but a chemical that might cause something or other. I really don't think we're a million miles away, especially when you think that AI exists. So AI will eventually, I'm sure, create substances, and AI will be able to mix chemicals and do all God knows what. But yeah. So what was your general vibes? So I suppose
I didn't answer the question. I didn't answer the question
not really, but that's all right.
I think for the first time, I wasn't really being to the point there. That's a lie. I'm never to the point. The show's great. The way it starts is it gives the perfect tone of what the series and the show is, and what the actual vibe of the comics are as well, in terms of its graphic nature, hard hitting, diabolically funny is what I would say. It's a refreshing view, I would say, for anybody that is a superhero fan. Has to watch this. And this is the thing. So when you told me, Forrest, when we started this podcast, I've never seen The Boys, and I was like, mate, we have got to do it. We have got to review it because it's if for any superhero fan, you've got to watch it because it does just make you reflect a little bit more about the superheroes that you know and love. So, for instance, obviously, Homelander is a contrast to Superman, right?
Yeah.
And when you think about Superman, the symbol of hope, oh my gosh, and when you think of like all of the other Supermen that we've had come forward, before, David Corenswet, who's now going to be taking the mantle. But like when you look at Henry Cavill, you're going, oh my gosh, what a man, right? When I see Henry Cavill not as Superman, but just as Henry Cavill on the red carpet, I see Superman. So it's really weird, do you know what I mean? So I think playing and holding all these kind of like characters out there and showing their darker sides is very refreshing. I love this show so much. Do you have a favourite character so far?
Do I have a favourite character?
Yeah. Doesn't have to be a superhero. It could be any of the characters that are in there.
Do I have a favourite character? I probably have two, one of which no longer exists as of the end of series 1. So I was actually
really
controversially maybe a massive Stillwell fan, Madeline Stillwell, because I thought that character, well, and probably what Elizabeth Shue brought to the character. I thought it was just really like. It felt to me quite three-dimensional. I thought she really brought the character to life, and if you think of someone that high up in a chain at a company, a corporate like that she is exactly who you thought she would be. The conversations and the scenes that she shared with Starlight, I thought were amazing, and the way the two women having a conversation about all kinds of themes are in there, feminism, all sorts of stuff, right? And I really like that character. I thought it was so rich. So I'd probably say her, but for a character who still exists with us, I'll have to say Billy Butcher. For sure. What about you?
He's Billy Butcher, man. His accent, I don't know where. Like, it's so funny.
So the guy, because I was having this conversation with, because you're gonna find this unbelievable, but as well, Matt, right? Sophie watched an episode and a half with me of this.
Hello.
I managed to get Sophie to watch something for the podcast. This is the first time ever.
That's amazing.
I can't say she was enjoying it, but she had her eyes open and they were looking at the screen. And she raised about Billy Butcher's accent, right? Now, Carl Urban, who plays the character, where is Carl from? I thought he was
Carl's
just like
Australian,
a New
isn't
Zealand.
he? Rachel,
Yeah.
Is Carl Urban from Lord of the Rings? Not Boromir, Faramir? Who wasn't Faramir? Who was... Éomer. Where is he from?
New
originally?
Zealand.
So it's New Zealand.
He's New Zealand. I can confirm. In the time it took that dialogue, I managed to Google it.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, he's from New Zealand, which I thought it was. I thought it was New Zealand, right? Now, he's...
We're talking about The Boys, but he's obviously Billy Butcher in The Boys, isn't he? And his accent's a little bit... Sorry, this is a three-way conversation. His accent's all over the place, and he kind of slips between British and New Zealand. Yeah. Which, to be honest, and, as we're talking about it, it's not an issue. I think it gains something for the character.
But yes, because also I think for me, because Sophie said this, she was like, "Oh, that's a shit British accent." But I was like, for me, I didn't feel like I felt it. Maybe because it was so bad, I didn't really think it was British. I thought it was in Jack Sparrow like essence. So it doesn't feel to me. It doesn't feel to me that he's like doing a shit version of accent. It's just his accent. Like how he's gained that over the years, we don't know. But I don't know. Like for me, it didn't jar, and normally it would do. So I can't really describe why that is. But
I can't remember whether it improves or he leans into it more in the later series. But like I think it harnesses his character because it makes it even more not funnier, but like there's something more endearing about it. The fact that he's not shying away from it as well. Like we know that, and it kind of adds to the ridiculous nature of the series in its own right. But my favourite character in this show, I'm going to say show, is Homelander.
Is he?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I think so again, dear listener, I've seen all of it at least once, so I'm caught up with it. I've even watched Gen V more recently as well. I just feel like the arc of Homelander is really, really interesting, and we're at a point. I mean, I don't want to ruin it later, but we're at a point when we catch up later with this review, where we see just kind of just more of the detail come through. But I think there's so much to play with because of the fact that he's a reflection of Superman. Because you've got all of this nastiness underneath it all. The fact that he's been brought up as a superhero. So he doesn't know how to be a human, and this is why when he punches the chest of that guy, with Maeve in the scene as well, he just enjoys it. You can see it in his eyes, and just the way it's being played, that kind of maniacal evil. And this is the thing, like you only see that type of evilness or evil intent with certain characters in certain shows. You get it with Negan. You get it with Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, Mr.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can feel just the inherent villainy, and he does it so well. And mate, I mean, you're in for a treat for the later seasons.
But I'm gonna step back and go, that's if you cheated. If you only watch series 1, who would your favourite character be? Because I don't think you can say just through series 1 that Homelander is. Because for me, for instance, having just watched series 1, Homelander to me is pretty much like caricature of standard, brought up in a weird way, and therefore has got childhood tendencies, hence the whole breastfeeding, blah blah blah. He's got it's all to the book. There's no real surprise there.
Really?
Yeah.
You think about the later episodes when he goes, where your favourite, because she was in Back to the Future, so I was about to call her Jennifer, but she's not Jennifer. Madeline. Yep. She gets kidnapped by Butcher. Butcher goes, look, you took, it all gets revealed that Homelander killed Billy's ex, and he goes, look, an eye for an eye. I'm going to take out this one, who you love. And then, but then Homelander's like, yeah, right? No, I don't care about her. I don't care. To the point that he literally, his lasers pierce through her eyes and he kills her herself. And the swerve, I think, in that lands even more the fact that he doesn't regard any human life. You saw it in the early episodes where he left that plane to go as well. These are all brilliant ingredients, mate, for character arc. We might not have seen a lot of him, but it honestly, I think even in that series, it's a perfect introduction to what type of guy he is.
Okay. I still don't know if I agree, Matt, because the reason why he does what he does at the end is because Stillwell and the Doctor have lied to him consistently, about what happened to Billy's wife. Can't remember her name. Ellie? No, I can't remember what her name is. Do you remember who that is? Billy's wife.
Ellie?
Yeah.
Ellie?
Something like that.
Sorry.
And he's consistently been lied to, and his whole life has been a lie. He's found that out recently as well. So for me, it wasn't overly shocking that he did what he did to Becca. That's it. We both got it completely wrong. Yeah. Becca. It wasn't completely shocking that he did what he did to Madeline. But what was shocking is Billy's reaction, Billy's responses through that scene. For me, were far more like, oh my god, so he kills Madeline, and normally, what could happen? Either Billy goes, oh fuck, I'll fuck this big time, start pooping his pants, or he he takes the fight to Homelander, But no, Billy just blows himself up and Homelander and a baby child in the house and a baby as well in the house, right? So he's got like that's Billy. Billy has killed a baby and Homelander. I can see that happening because why would Homelander care? He spent his whole life being lied to.
Do you not think what Billy did was justified then in that moment?
No, I don't know. I think there's questions there. Is it justified? But what I'm getting at is the suicidal part of it as well, like Matt.
Yeah.
So he commits suicide. Like he, after getting what he wanted. That's what I mean. For me, Billy's far more like, oh my god, why is he doing that? He's got people outside that you could argue he still cares about or whatever. So I'm interested.
It's the blind purpose that Butcher has in this show, which is the overall kind of like arc for this season. Now it does divert, and I will tell you that his objectives, let's say, do divert and change a little bit. But at that point, he goes, "Well, my other half is dead, and now you've killed what I thought was your other half, mate. Clearly not. And well, what's the point?" And he gives up. And I think, and now this is so difficult, because basically what I'm doing is, because I know the justifications, because it kind of gets answered a little bit through character development in the late series. If I was to look at that from a face value, I would agree in with you, like kind of being like, that's a bit of a strange choice. But I think it's true to the ridiculousness of what the comics were and what the show is. But it also tells you a lot about the character of Butcher. And I'm not going to tell you, because we don't really know, in season 1, we don't really know much about Butcher's background, if any. It's quite ambiguous. We just even lies about being a part of the police force, and actually he's not a sergeant. He's just a freelancer, effectively, a detective freelancer, and he intrigues me as a character. He's definitely up there as one of my favourites, but there's lots that gets explained later on.
But again, Matt, we're looking at it through series 1 eyes.
No, I know,
mate.
and this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to sort of like get you to understand, just to trust the process.
No, but I trust it. Okay, maybe what I've said has got confused. What I'm saying, so you've said that Homelander for you is like quality character because he kind of diverts like expectation. Right, so you expect one thing. But I suppose what my basic argument is, I actually think Billy did that more. I think Homelander's actions are justified because we know about his character. Billy, we don't know enough about him, but what we do know about him is still shocks me that he would be willing to kill himself and a child in a house just to get to Homelander, especially when he's already been made, like he already thinks his wife's dead. You know what I mean? So the goal is to get his wife back. You would argue. So I think that's the premise of my thing. Well, it wasn't that I'm like disgusted at what he did. It's more that I think the character is so cool because it completely like shocked me. Whereas the Madeline bit, I don't think really shocked me, and probably that's not just because of Homelander. I think the whole series was kind of geared towards like Madeline was only going to end up like that, because the fact there was so much of a focus on her, and also the episode before, so episode 6, we start to see the guy who I know is about to feature a lot more in the series. Who's the actor who's just been cast in? He's just been cast in Fantastic Four. Who's like the head poncho for the company in this show? Gus Fring?
You mean Stan Edgar?
No. Stan. Do I mean Stan Edgar? Maybe.
You mean you said Gus, as in Gus from Breaking Bad?
Yes, Gus. Yeah. That's it. Stan. Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Giancarlo Esposito. Esposito. Sorry.
Esposito. So yeah. But that's my thought. But it would be interesting. People listening, I've completely lost my train of thought. People listening, let us know. What do you think? Do you prefer? Are you team Homelander or are you team Billy? I'll be interested.
Oh, see, I feel that's too early. I think that's too early to ask the question, particularly for season one.
But we're only looking at series one. Matthew.
I know. I can't help it. It's just,
you jumping.
This is so difficult. This honestly, for me, this is so hard because for me, season one sets up all of the juicy goodness that comes for season 2, season 3. You asked me when we were watching it this weekend in London during MCM, which one is the season is the better one, and I said to you, season 2 is very, very good. But like, it's all about setting up the characters, right? So if I was to look at season 1 as a story standpoint and a storyline standpoint, and something that, let's say again in reflection to the MCU TV stuff, hasn't done that very well, aside from WandaVision, let's say, this is what you do for a series that you know is going to have some length to it. You need to set up the characters. You need to show us what their objectives are. You need to show us the level of the objectives that they want from these from what they want for the characters. We need to see the relationships building or the relationships breaking down from the characters, and see what that can do with the twists and in the turns going later into the second series and stuff. This first season wasn't like we might just get one. They knew. I think they already knew by the time they were filming the first series that there was going to be a second one.
Sorry, whilst you were chatting, I thought I'd do a bit of research on this because, so the second series was confirmed by Amazon at San Diego's Comic-Con a week before the first series was released. Because that was going to be my next argument, was going to be, well, actually, if you are developing the show and you have to take it, because most TV companies, they have to just go, right, if they get given one series, you have to assume that you might not be given a second. So you have to create a series in a fashion. And I would argue that I think The Boys did very well at this. I think the first series of The Boys, ultimately, if we had no second series, that the plot for series 1 was tied up in a bow. That the focus was about Madeline, the focus was about Homelander. Homelander, overcame Madeline, killed her, but Billy, found out what had happened to his wife. So right at the end of the moments of the last episode, although it raises many questions, it does essentially answer to the audience what we've been
that she's alive.
That she's alive. She's alive, got a son, and she's spooked that Billy's alive. So therefore we're aware that she obviously was lying, and why she's lying we don't know. But it answers enough questions, I would argue, if we had no series 2. If you look at the real basic plot, the macro, you got the macro and the micro. That was the other thing I mentioned when we watched a couple of episodes. What this does really well is it creates the macro, so the big plot for the whole series. But within that, we got lots and lots of subplots, and the subplots, I would argue, are not as well done. So Maeve, I think, is one of the weakest characters, I would argue, because Maeve's subplot. So the whole kind of like Homelander keeps fucking her over. She saved a load of kids when she was younger, which is why Stargirl looks up to her. Like that was all. It was all there, but it wasn't quite. She didn't have enough time to kind of really enjoy that plot. So that
I agree with you with Maeve. Yeah, there wasn't a lot given in terms of character development for Maeve, which I think, and also Black Noir as well. I wish we got a little bit more translucent, but just to go back on that point, mate, I mean, in terms of like wrapping it up as a bow in season 1, I could not disagree any. Like, mate, that is insane. Like, it's left on a bigger cliffhanger than the ending of series 4 of The Last Man on Earth, where it was literally the biggest cliffhanger, and then they cancelled the show. Like, if you cancelled it at that point.
Yeah, but the questions the series presents. What are the questions the series presents? Billy wants to get his own back on Homelander. He sets fire to the house. It doesn't work. Homelander saves him. So plot point done, right? But Billy's, if once that's happened, it's probably quite obvious to me that Billy's not going to get up and try and punch Homelander. He will get up and go, enough's enough for that moment. Whatever happens in the long term plot of the boys, fine. But in that moment, that plot is done. We know about Becca. We find out about Becca. We find out about the son. We find out about the boys. Huey has done his bit. He's killed. For me, the fundamentals in my maybe I'm far out, but the fundamentals of this series are tied up.
No.
There is so much space to extend it, and there are other things to look at, and of course there's development. But I think you're saying this because you've watched the other series. If you just go back to having watched series 1 and you know nothing else about what happens to Billy, Homelander, the kids, Becca, blah blah blah,
I would throw every single toy out of my buggy if I was then to have watched that series and got to the end of season 1 and for them to say, "Oh, it's cancelled, sorry, we're not going to do any more episodes." I would have tipped that buggy over. I would have set it alight. Honestly, it would have, mate. But
interesting.
I love you, but I disagree.
That's good. We've had it. But it'd be good to hear your thoughts. So Don't Be Hero podcast. Find us on Instagram. We'll do a little reel of this bit. I'm sure Matt will jazz this up. But let us know what are your thoughts. Do you agree with me that actually, if you ignore, and I know all of the people watching are going to have watched all series, they're going to be, what you want about? The development's crazy. But if you strip that back, just the 8 episodes and the plots that 8 episodes was trying to tell you, do you think that's wrapped up in a bow? Or are you like Matt, that's like, no fucking way?
Unbelievable. But...
It raises other questions. That's the thing.
Yeah.
The end of this first series raises fresh, new questions. It doesn't raise questions that the first series sought to answer.
I totally get that. It does. The storyline develops to a point in that final episode. I wouldn't say it completes it or rounds it off in a bow, but I would definitely say it reaches the point it needs to be at that point. But I would say that is a 1000% that is the biggest cliffhanger that you could get. That's literally standing at the precipice of the Grand Canyon and going, "Wow, look at that cliff! Oh, that's a big drop. That's a cliffhanger." Like that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like. That's what I see. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
That's a big reveal. She's not dead. Oh, look, it's the sun. How does Homelander know that she's dead? It does raise a lot of questions. Also, how is he not dead? How is Billy not dead? How has he only got a mark on his head? Why has he lost limbs?
Loads of fresh questions. Loads of questions.
Anyway,
but also, just one quick thing. If they knew that series 2 wasn't going to happen, that last 10 seconds wasn't in the program, then what would your argument be? If it ends with Billy pressing a button, triggers off, and then end the program,
I'd kind of prefer that. I would probably argue that might have been the first. That might be, or if you argued that point and it ended like that, we wouldn't have been talking about this for 10 minutes.
Fine. All right, we'll carry on.
I got a question for you, okay? Would you rather, bearing in mind that the deep has gills on his torso, and translucent can only be translucent if he's fully naked. Would you rather be the Deep or translucent?
Translucent. 100%. 1,000,000,000%.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
Which then leads me perfectly into the reasoning of talking about the Deep's character introduction and character development. What do you think? Overview thoughts for the Deep, because he had quite a storyline in his first season.
He did have quite a storyline. I think it's a bit up there with Maeve for me in regards to it was a subplot that just kind of didn't really feel like it. Like, I don't know. He just felt like he was coming in at parts, and then we wouldn't see him for 2 episodes, and then we'd see his face for 5 seconds, and then that'd be it. It almost felt to me like maybe they missed the but I don't know how you would do it, but whether they missed the trick that an episode should have had a focus on certain characters. But so and that doesn't mean to say that characters wouldn't feature in all of the episodes. It just means that the focus would have been clearer. So I would have had, like, his breakdown would have been a whole episode. So the Stargirl and his moment at the beginning would have happened in another person's episode, but he would have had a whole episode about his breakdown. Because for me, I just never felt like Maeve, him. Translucent, I think did have his moment, because actually that whole cell bit, like, that was more than enough for that character. We didn't need any more. So yeah, I felt didn't get enough. I like the questions that it raised and the kind of societal problems and society, like how Stargirl was treated by the Deep when she first went in, and the expectation, and that's absolutely fine within that framework, and Maeve being Stargirl's kind of there for her, but again didn't dwell on that moment enough for me. I like it. I wouldn't say he's the most interesting character for me in this.
I think it raised really interesting points on the fact of abuse of power, particularly from a superhero standpoint. Like the fact that we go straight in and he's just literally dropped trowel and gone straight in, with abuse of power through sexual favors and stuff. And it's, I think what we needed to have got in order to justify that a little bit more is to see the shithead side of the Deep earlier. Or just kind of like maybe have a quick scene where he just does something stupid, or it's a bit of a knobhead here, just so we can just go, oh, he's like that. I know that was kind of, they probably chose not to do that just for the shock value of what happens in that moment for him and Starlight, but like, it's an interesting point, like you say. It is an interesting point to play, in particular in a universe like this. The fact that he can talk to fish and sea creatures and stuff is used as a comical plot point for him and his character development, which I think is a good choice. But there is also underneath it all a human side to him, or an empathetic and compassionate side to him, but he just doesn't. He's got lost in being in the Seven and knowing how much of a cool arsehole he is, and he's using that to manipulate people around him. And he's using, and I think that's because as well, he's probably getting the shit from Homelander, because you see there's a scene, I think in the earlier episodes, where Homelander's a bit of a dick to him as well. So he's just again, it's learnt behaviour, right? So he's being treated like a knobhead here, so he's going to treat somebody else like a knobhead. All of that is interesting, but like you say, I don't think it gave enough time in that first series to play it out completely. But the fact that he gets then ridiculed by that girl in the later episodes, where he's about to go into having a little intimacy moment, and she completely ridicules the fact that he's got gills on his torso. Then he kind of shaves his head and all that kind of stuff, and we're gonna see almost like a a retribution arc, or maybe not so in series 2. And that's no spoilers. That's me going, what if? What if? But I think we needed more for it. Do you know what I mean? In this first season, just to kind of justify a little bit more.
Yeah, if you got a character that deep, see what I did there? You got a character that deep. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Then you do need to spend some more time on that character. I felt it kind of got lost, and I liked the jarring nature of the fish comedy moments, but you've got a character who's a bit of a knob. But for me, in order for those comedy moments to be all right, it needed more of the moments where he was falling from grace. And we did get those. We did get that scene with the woman who ridicules him. But all of that just seems... It was part of an episode that was nothing to do with that. And they were just fleeting glances, which is kind of what I meant by an episode. If we'd have had his episode, we could have had far more of we could have seen far more of a man who has got himself to the point where he's got himself by being having this bravado, being part of the 7, blah blah blah. But then the fall from grace of continuously fucking up with the fish, continuously getting ridiculed by other people. It just would have made more sense, I think, and would have been structured a bit better. But yeah, I liked it. It wasn't bad, but it certainly wasn't a highlight for me.
It's good points, mate. Good points. Moving on then to Starlight in season 1, because obviously her storyline was that, let's say, the main, other than what we saw from Billy Butcher and that kind of side. This is the arc of a hometown girl being a soup and finally getting her lifelong dream of being included into the 7, only to realise that it's not what she thought it was. What are your thoughts on that?
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Oh, it's not very good, my friend.
I would have liked more about Stargirl's part of the 7 journey. We didn't get any flashbacks or any we just got it all through lived experience now. So everything with her mum was about conversations that were happening now. Whereas I really would have liked a bit more seeing her back in her world, her community when she was younger, and then seeing so we get a real kind of contrast to how big she is now. So we got it through speech, and we got but we didn't see that transformation. We didn't see how much of a difference it is to have millions of people noticing you every day to being a girl in the country, who's barely recognised apart from friends and family. It didn't feel big enough for me, that jump. I loved the plot with Deep, and I loved what came out of that. I thought that was excellent, really well handled, really well done. Like I say, her conversations with Madeline were great. I thought one of the best scenes, and one of the best scenes for how corporate meetings would probably go down, even now, was the scene with the marketing team where they announced the new costume. Mm-hmm. And they give her all of these buzzwords that are all, feminism, empowerment, blah, blah, blah. And then it's get your ass out.
Yeah.
It's absolutely you can see countless examples of that in real life.
100%.
But yeah. I thought she was great. I love the character. Can't say.
Erin Moriarty, not really known for much in terms of her career before this. She did a lot of bit stuff on certain movies and stuff. And I think the casting's great. I think the what she performs and what she does with Starlight is really interesting. Again, throwing into the darker side the realism of what it's like to be a symbol, but also this is a reflection of what it's like to be a symbol, a young, attractive female in pop culture, right?
It's something that me and you can really, really relate to.
Exactly. We are the right people to talk about this.
This is the podcast you should be listening to, everybody.
Two heterosexual men in their 30s talking about this. Yeah, let's carry on about this. No. But it does show a reflection, doesn't it, in terms of celebrity, the way that celebrities are used and seen, the fact that sex sells, all of that kind of stuff is thrown at this character and loses the actual honesty of what she wants from the character and from the superhero. And it's interesting. It's an interesting take, and I think it does show light onto it. Maybe it doesn't go too much far detail into it. We might see more about it in season 2 and 3. In terms of what we want. It's so difficult. I know.
Remind me never to watch a show where you've seen countless series.
It's because I'm just so excited for you, man. I'm so excited for you. This is the thing.
And we are doing this to get to series 4, which neither of us have watched.
Exactly.
So that'll be a bonus.
Exactly.
Anyway, carry on. Sorry, I'm only joking.
I think she does great. Her character is a really good introduction. This is, again, it kind of shows you as well the MCU's kind of representation of women. Let's argue, again, back in 2008, the way that Scarlett Johansson was used, in the first Iron Man movie, the way that she was introduced and then introduced as Black Widow is very, very different to how, She-Hulk was introduced, how Kahori, we've just spoken to about, was introduced into the... It's not about that, and it shouldn't be about that, to make an interesting female character. So it's really interesting. I think, again, we could have got a little bit more, but I think we got enough for Starlight.
Absolutely. And who knows? Will she even appear?
Sorry, that was really obnoxious.
Will she even appear in series 2? I don't know. Who knows?
What do you actually? No, I tell you what. So to wrap this first season up, before we go into kind of like a last final thoughts. But what do you think is going to happen in season 2?
So just quickly before we do that, I just want to do a shout out. No,
because
I wasn't wrapping up.
Let me just say no. Let me just put my foot down.
I want to talk about Kimiko.
Kimiko. Yeah.
Not Kimiko. Kimiko, who, just a shout out, just what a fantastic character. Absolutely brilliant character. Again, if I was to go back and say about series 1 ending up in a nice little bow, maybe the only one of the only things I'd say is that Kimiko, I can't wait to know more about. Very excited to know.
I mean, the fact that she dies so. Sorry.
Sorry, let's focus on. So your question, Matt, was about what am I excited to see?
Well, what do you think's going to happen in season 2? More importantly,
what do I think is going to happen? So I am very intrigued how the Billy and Becca plot is going to go. I don't actually know how that's going to go down, so I'm intrigued.
Do you have any thoughts where you think it could go?
Well,
where do you think it should go?
I think hopefully not much, because at the end of the day, Becca's got a kid, clearly did lie, and clearly has been fine. So I'm kind of hoping Billy is like. I hope we don't get 2 series of Billy going, "Oh, but I love you though." I hope it's pretty. Something happens that pretty much just ends that ASAP. But This is really hard saying this to you when you. Because I'm looking at your face as trying to be neutral.
What do you think is going to happen with the Deep and Starlight characters?
Now, it would be quite interesting. I would like this to go down a mental health suicide plot. Whether that's an attempted suicide, because actually it would be good to see your face trying to be neutral, trying to go to really extend that plot and to have a man that's fallen so high from grace. So I hope that's nicely explored. I'm really interested. I'm really intrigued in that. And a little devil called Matt told me about a little guy called Soldier Boy who may or may not rock up in series 2 and be quite a cool character. So.
Mate, there's a couple of cool characters that rock up in series 2, season 2. But yeah, again, I'm not going to tell you what happens. It serves. It makes basically. This is the reason why I've watched season 1 3 times now. Right, I haven't seen the other series twice yet, so this will be my second watching for 2 and 3. But this is why when we get to season 2, you go, "That's why season 1's so good."
Yeah,
in terms of a first season of introducing story and characters, it's an absolute home run. It's so good. So good.
I hope there's more Maeve. I hope we don't have another Sif example. Sif is obviously Thor and all of that, where we love Sif and barely ever saw her. So I'm really hoping for a lovely plot with Maeve embedded. And yeah, I'm interested into why you like Homelander so much. I'm intrigued. Count me intrigued, mate.
I mean, Anthony Starr is an absolute babe. I have a little man crush.
He is. I can't quite imagine what jobs he could get after this, because that's such a character that for any other character he plays, he will always be seen as that.
Yeah,
maybe. So I'm interested.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Anthony Starr in anything else either. So has he actually been in anything since?
I think that kind of goes to a testament to the people that they've cast in this show. A lot of the actors that we've got in this show, maybe bar Billy and a few other characters that haven't been in much. So they've got such a blank canvas to play on as well, and just make the characters their own. We haven't even mentioned A-Train, even down to A-Train's arc as well. Really interesting and so much to play with. This is, oh God, I'm so sorry, Matt. I keep talking, but this is just the beginning. This is just it's like, I genuinely I'm feeling how I felt when we watched the Iron Man. Like, that first, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to play. There's so many more things at stake.
Oh, can't wait.
Oh.
Well, watch this space. Next week we'll look at series 2. I've got to try my damnedest to fit 8 hours worth of content in the next week to watch it, but I will, and looking forward to it. I'm going to give this a rating of Sensations Thai chili, just one of my favourite all-time crisps. No reason I can think of. It's just a little bit spicy.
Oh mate, I'm going to go with the Sensations, but I'm going to go with the roast chicken.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff.
Right.
Brilliant. And
cool.
As you may have heard last Friday, right at the beginning when me and Matt were having a teeny-weeny argument about uploading videos to YouTube. So hopefully this one will be the first one, right, Matt?
Maybe.
Will this go up?
I don't know. I don't know anymore.
We'll see how we deal with it. But we shall see you again next week. Won't be a bonus this week, but we'll be doing a bonus soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, we will. Can't wait. Anyway, ta-ra for now, my friend. Have a lovely week.
You take care, my dear friend. Thank you very much, dear listener. Love you. Bye.